Every week, there's a new model, a new framework, a new revolutionary tool that everyone says you need to learn. GPT-4, Claude, Gemini, Llama, Mistral, Quinn, and that's just the models. Then there's the tools, LangChain, AutoGPT, Crew AI, Semantic Kernel, Agents, RAG, Fine-Tuning, Quantization, Local versus Cloud, API keys, rate limits, subscription tiers. If you're not technically inclined, it's not just confusing, it's paralyzing. You don't know where to start. You read documentation that assumes you already understand what a token is, or that you know the difference between an embedding and a vector database. Every tutorial seems to skip the basics and jump straight into concepts that feel like they're written in another language. But here's the thing, even technical people are struggling. Developers who've been coding for decades feel like they're drinking from a fire hose. The pace of change isn't just fast, it's relentless. What you learned last month might already be outdated. The tool that was the future 3 months ago is now deprecated or has been acquired and changed beyond recognition. You might feel like everyone else seems to get it, and you're the only one left behind. But spoiler, they don't, and you're not. You need to learn everything before you can build anything. But you don't. The learning curve is so steep, it's not worth trying. But it's actually getting easier. You'll never catch up, so why bother? But the tools are finally becoming accessible. The reality is that AI is moving from research project to practical tool. The gap between what you want to build and what you need to know is shrinking. You don't need to understand how transformers work to use them. You don't need to train models. You just need to know how to point them at your problem. This walkthrough is for you. Whether you're a complete beginner who's never written a line of code, someone who's tried to learn but got overwhelmed by the jargon, a developer who's tired of the constant churn, or just curious about what all this AI stuff can actually do for you. We're going to cut through the noise. We'll use tools that make AI accessible without requiring a PhD. We'll walk through real projects, not toy examples, but things you might actually want to build. And we'll do it step by step, explaining what each piece does along the way. The AI landscape is overwhelming, yes, but it's also more accessible than it's ever been. Let's figure this out together. However, Anthropic already had Claude Code, its code agent tool that consistently held the top spot, despite only being available with its premium plans. Now, though, it has just been unlocked to use its full potential without any subscription. I've been using it extensively in recent weeks, and it's literally capable of doing the work of an entire team. To prove this, we'll be exploring how to unlock it and testing it with 4 use cases, creating any type of agent, connecting it with tools like Luma AI, that's the video generation tool that the transcription kept calling Nano Banana, to create interactive websites that act as an analyst simplifying data, or even as a complete team to create functional applications. The best part is that you can use all its features today, completely free and unlimited. Sounds good? Let's see how. What we just covered, we set up the context for why AI tools feel overwhelming, why even technical people struggle, and introduced Claude Code as the solution we'll be exploring through hands-on examples. They're just tools that make development easier. And finally, Ollama, which is the open-source large language model runner. What we just covered? We walked through installing all the prerequisite tools. If you're feeling overwhelmed by all these installations, remember, the goal is that these tools will do the heavy lifting for you. You install them once, and then they handle the complexity. We now have VS Code for editing code, Anaconda for Python package management, Git for version control, Node.js for JavaScript runtime, and Ollama for running AI models locally. With that all in mind, let's begin with VS Code. So as you can see, there's a few things you really need to take note of in this screen. You can add a file here, you can make a new text file, you can make a folder here. Basically, if you click the other buttons here, there's not much you can do here at this point. One thing you can do is go to extensions. For example, you can install the Claude extension here. Maybe we should do that, and then we'll more or less give you the brief introduction. On top of that, you need a terminal window. Basically, you can open the file called settings.json.json. On Mac or Linux, this would be in your home directory under d.claude settings.json. On Windows, it would be in your user profile folder. So now I'm doing the details as seen on the screen. Note that there's an NVIDIA model earlier. If you remember, the model earlier basically copy the model and paste it. In the model sections, you can see there's a copy button. When you copy that, you basically get the name of the model and you paste it back in the screen earlier. In the config settings earlier, this is where we get them from. These are in Openrouter's setup instructions. Basically just copy this there. But again, to not confuse you, just copy whatever is given and put it in the settings file. Right, so now you've got everything configured and you should be ready to run. Click Claude, and then when you do so, you will see it might not look the same as you remembered it to be earlier, mainly the fact that it just goes to show you the ASCII art logo, and then you are basically at the screen to use Claude code. Again, the section What to key in is here above, and the directory for me is above. Make a text file there and do the configuration. And yes, and that's what you need. What we just covered, we opened VS Code, learned about the terminal, installed Node.js via Conda, installed Claude Code via npm, and then set up Openrouter to get access to AI models without paying for a Claude subscription. The key insight here is that Openrouter acts as a gateway. You get one API key, and you can use dozens of different models, some for free. Starting with the first use case, we'll be creating our own artificial intelligence agents so that they can perform any task we need in the future. It's very similar to hiring a person, except here we're creating the ideal profile we need for a specific task. Think about it like this. When you hire someone, you write a job description that outlines their responsibilities, skills, and how they should approach problems. With AI agents, you do the same thing, but instead of a human, you're configuring an AI to follow those instructions consistently. You create it once, and then you can reuse it whenever you need that particular task done. Enter the same command as in Ollama, like launch Claude, and press enter, the same options will appear, and I'll be able to use it in the same way, but with the added benefit of previewing the files in the project. Now, continuing with this example, let's create our agent. From here, if we click on the slash, which is how you access special commands in Claude Code, we'll see a bunch of options, including the second one, agents. If we press enter, it will appear that we can create our own agents. So I'll press enter again. Now we can configure these agents to be used only in this project or for more general, personal use. I'm going to create one specifically for this project. In the next step, we could configure it manually, or, as I recommend, let Claude generate everything for us. So, let's press enter on this first option. Now we just need to describe what we'd like these agents to do. As an example, I'll say, I'd like an agent to help with the data analysis I provide, which will start with an Excel or CSV file. The goal is for the agent to analyze all that raw data and transform it into something more visual, like a dashboard with charts, to help me make decisions quickly. Okay, I'm going to leave that instruction as is. I've already pressed enter to start generating it. And notice how Claude will start creating all the instructions so that the agent can have the best performance. A little later, it would ask us if we want to restrict access to anything, like tools, editing capabilities, creation, reading, and so on. In this case, I'm going to leave everything as is, so I'm going to click Continue, and from here, I'm going to tell it to use the default model we're using. To do this, I click the fourth option, tell it to automatically select a color, and notice that here we also have a name, which would be Data Dashboard Analyzer. We could change this, but I'm going to leave it as is. I enable the memory, and after pressing enter, we'll have the agent created. In fact, if we go to the Claude section and select the Agent section, we'll be able to see the new agent that has been created for us here. If we click on it, we'll be able to see all the detailed descriptions and instructions that Claude has created to make this work perfectly. What we just covered, we learned how to create a custom AI agent in Claude Code. An agent is essentially a saved set of instructions that tells the AI how to behave for a specific task. You describe what you want the agent to do. Claude generates detailed instructions automatically, and then you can reuse that agent whenever you need that specific task performed. This is powerful because you create it once and use it forever, like hiring a specialist employee who never forgets their job description. With that, let's begin our task for today. Today we will try to build an app. I would like to build a transcriber app asking Claude to do so. I'll give it some requirements as you've seen, and basically click Enter. As you can see, it's running, so let it have some time to load. As you can see, it's starting to move. There's a big tokens being used as progress, and it's changing. This is a good sign. Tokens, by the way, are how AI models measure work. Roughly speaking, a token is about 4 characters or 3/4 of a word. When you see tokens being used, it means the AI is processing your request. There might be other stuff. Most of the time you would see that it says it's busy. Unless it's a different error message, if it's busy, you just click retry. And yeah, whatever error you try to solve it. When using API-based models, you may encounter rate limits or busy errors. This just means the server is handling too many requests. Simply retry the request after a few seconds. So while I was waiting for it to load, it looked like it was doing something more complex, so I put in some words. As you can see, there's some things you can do with the agent here, typing/commands. By the way, what I'm doing is not good. I mean, you should try to let it run first. But anyway, after running some time, you can see it's asking us for permission. Do you want to change this? Basically, unless you've got lots of experience with code, just say yes and then move on. And then if it asks you a further question, clarify it. If not, enter. And basically, you would just keep redoing this. As you can see, we will go on to the next screen, and it's asking us the same question again. Do you want to edit? Yes, it's done the first step. For it, the first step was to install dependencies. Dependencies are other pieces of software that your app needs to run. It's like how a car needs gas and oil. Your app needs these code libraries. So if you see in the folder later the documents inside the file, it's telling you how to use it. Basically, install the dependencies. The instructions say, type in your terminal, another terminal, because you're using this one, and download. And then update settings.json with your model path and run. The speaker is saying to open a separate terminal to run installation commands while Claude code is running in the first terminal. This way, you can see what's happening in both windows. With that in mind, let's try to see whether we can do this. First, we will expand the folder. As you can see, there's the file that the agent has mentioned, there's transcribe.pa, and then there's a bunch of other stuff, settings.json and requirements.txt, but the thing is to install, but no, actually I did it wrong. You should follow the instructions and copy whatever they asked you and do the installation. Sometimes the agent does it itself, and then next, we will get the files that they mentioned, which are the audio files, or input files for transcription. So come to this page here, which they tell you, and get the files. You put them in the project folder, and then you make some of the changes. And then you can try running it and see what happens. But if not, you just ask it about what to do, and it will tell you. Clarify. For example, I wasn't very sure, so I asked, what do I do with these? It said, and let it run. When it's done, come back again and see what it shows you. So when it's done, basically, it has, for me, I've run the file successfully. It's listening. I'm trying to find out more, but it doesn't seem to be what I want. So again, I'm asking it for more instructions. Can you edit this and that? You click yes and let it run again. And then you see, you just follow the instructions it gives you. And so again, yes, and just continue on with these until you get something that works. It's something you need to try a few times to get a grasp of, but basically it will take some time. And voila, you have an app. So you might or might not have an app. This thing is working okay for me, but I'm trying still to ask it for more. Basically, as you can see, I have many new files based on what I asked. Right, it's created 3 files, it's continually improving. And at the end, I do have a product, but you might want to have the product differently, but you can't really see the output. Maybe this wasn't the best example, but as you can see, it's running and I do have the transcripts. What we just covered, we built a transcription app from scratch by describing what we wanted and following Claude Code's prompts. The key lesson here is that building with AI is iterative. You ask for something, see what it creates, ask for adjustments, and repeat until it works. You don't need to know how to write the code yourself. You just need to know how to describe what you want and be willing to iterate. So next up, we'll try to build a different app. This time, perhaps you are a furniture store owner and you're trying to build a website for yourself. So let's begin. Coming to VS Code, and then we'll start the terminal, and then from here we will open Claude Code. So to begin with, we will just have a new terminal. Go ahead and open a new terminal. And then you type a conda nb, listen for conda, and then after that we do ad conda activate base. So now we are in the base environment. We will run Claude Code. So now we'll start a new terminal and we will run Claude. Because we've installed it in the conda environment, you need to list out the environment. So now we will try to. Before we talk to Claude, there's a few things we'd like to do. And this would be, firstly, to generate assets using Flow. Now, Flow appears to be an AI image video generation platform, possibly something like Ideogram or similar creative AI tools. So if you have done, I will pass forward through this video. If you'd like to know how to get this, you can look at the other video to create pictures. Basically, you are creating images for your website project, gaming themes, different colors, black backgrounds, Luma AI, which the transcription kept calling Nano Banana, is one of the best AI-powered image and video generators, and Claude Code is the best tool for programming with agents. And if we combine both, we'll be able to easily create highly visual and interactive professional websites. To see this use case, let's first jump to Flow, this platform here, which has recently been updated. The most interesting thing is that we can use it for free, albeit with limitations and with advanced configurations. Notice that when we click on the Images section, it tells us that each image will cost 0 credits, so we can use all 150 credits from the free account without any problem. With that clear, I'll move on to the example website. I'm going to try to improve a site, which is probably worth several thousand euros. Going to a furniture page, I saw that while it's not bad, it does have some room for improvement. We can see that there are static products, but beyond a few offers, the main images don't have any animation. So now we're going to redo it with Claude Code and the AI generator. To do this, the first thing I'm going to do is take an image. I click on Copy Image from Flow, click on Paste, and it will start loading from here. Once loaded, I'll specify it from the prompt section. In this case, I want it to generate an image just like the previous one, but with all the parts separated, as if the furniture pieces were floating in the air and could be seen individually. Since this is free, I'll select the option to generate 4 images. I click Send. Seconds later, on the first try, it generated these 4 images, which, to be honest, for being on the first try and with such a complex prompt, it did quite well. And honestly, of all these examples, I'd say one image is practically perfect, since we can see the components, which are almost exactly the same as those in the furniture here, only now we can see everything separately. So now, with these images, I could take one of the images, drag it to the components section, choose the original image, drag it to the components section as well, and now where it says video section, we could change the configuration. Here we do have a written cost, so I'm going to reduce it to 2 videos. And since we've already configured it to start with the components separately and then finish with that final image, I'm going to tell it from the prompt section to arrange the furniture until all the pieces are together. Click Send, and a second later we might see the result. Once you have the result you'd like to put on the website, simply click the 3 dots, select Download, And from here, I recommend selecting 720p. It's true that you could increase the quality, although sometimes it gets a bit saturated. So, it's a matter of trying different settings to see which one you prefer. In my case, I'm going to download it in 720p, and now that we have the video, we're ready to create the improved page. To do this, from VS Code, we're going to click Open Folder, and in this case, I've just created a new project called Webpage. I'll open it, and once we're here, we're going to share the video we'd like to have on the website. I've already uploaded it here, and then we'll click this symbol here to add a file. We're going to create a skill, which I'll also explain in the description area. I'll write scrollweb.md. Although you can change this name, the most important thing here is to paste all the text I'll share into a document. I've included a lot of information so we can have this functionality where, when we add a video, it integrates perfectly with the web page, making it interactive and giving us a much better visual experience than the original. GLM4 Cloud. I place it on the right, and from here, if I add something like, I want it to create a web page to represent the furniture pieces with premium materials, and I want it to know that I've attached a video and that I want it to be included in an interactive and well-integrated way. But if I now simply tell it to follow the skill, I type T and select this skill we just created called Web Scroll. When I press Enter, it will start processing it, and a little later, on the first try, look what we have here. It says Signature Collection, the new collection, premium furniture designed for discerning homes. And with this, if I scroll down, I can see how letters appear, how the experience is redefined. I keep scrolling down, and we can see how the furniture pieces are being assembled. Here appears what would be the first piece, called the Perfected Classic, with a price. But as I scroll down, it all comes together so we can see the video perfectly integrated with the website. And with this, we're not just talking about creating simple web pages. It's about creating real animations and a truly original experience. It's truly amazing how much we can do now. What we just covered, we combined AI-generated images and videos with Claude code to create an interactive, scroll-animated website. The workflow was generate visual assets with an AI tool, create a skill file that describes the interactive behavior we want, and then tell Claude code to build it. The result is a professional-looking website with scroll-triggered animations, all without writing code ourselves. This shows how AI tools can work together. One generates content, another builds the code to display it. Finally, with the last use case, we'll see how we can use locally installed artificial intelligence models to avoid any limitations, since everything we've done so far has been using cloud-based models that have certain daily limits. In fact, if we go back to the Ollama interface, you'll see that in the upper right corner, you'll find an account that they ask you to create when you're going to use this tool. And going into the settings section, you'll notice that, although it's free, it tells us that the cloud-based models we're using will have a limit every 2 hours. In this case, I've used approximately 4%, and will also have a weekly limit that will regenerate automatically. This is great if we have a less powerful computer and want to run the more demanding models. However, nowadays we also have smaller models that we can install locally to avoid any limitations. To do this, look directly at Ollama. If we go to the Models section, we'll find a wide variety of models. It's true that, as their documentation states, when we use Claude code, if we scroll down a bit, we'll see the recommended models, such as the Kimi 2.5, the GLM4, the Minimax 2.5, and the Qwen 3.5. These are cloud-based, and they also recommend other models that aren't, like the Qwen 3.5, which is one of the latest open-source models and one of the most powerful. Popular local models include Qwen, Llama, Mistral, and others. The model names may vary. Qwen 3.5, GLM4, and so on are all models available through Ollama's library. The key difference between cloud and local models is that local models run entirely on your computer, using your own hardware. No internet connection required, no rate limits, no subscription fees. The trade-off is that your computer needs enough memory and processing power to run them. So, if we go back to the interface, you'll see that we can filter by the newest models. Here, we'll find models like the Qwen 3.5 and the GLM4. Also, keep in mind that we might find open source models from other companies, like Google's Gemini, but for now, I'm going to select one of the most powerful, the Qwen 3.5. And notice that from here they tell us it's suitable for all these applications. And in fact, to run and open this tool directly from a local model, we can simply type this command. But first, we have to install it, and for that, we need to know which one you should install. Keep in mind that you'll find different versions here with different parameter sizes, and each one will require a minimum amount of RAM. Here, for example, we have the smallest version, which requires 1 GB of RAM, and other much more powerful models that would require more than 80 gigabytes. Model size matters for local execution. Smaller models with 1 to 8 billion parameters can run on consumer hardware with 8 to 16 gigabytes of RAM. Larger models with 70 billion parameters or more require significant RAM 48 gigabytes or more, or GPU memory. Choose based on your hardware. If you have a regular laptop, stick to smaller models. If you have a powerful desktop with a good graphics card, you can run larger ones.